So Jesse, thanks so much for being here with Dan today on the DANcast. It's a pleasure to have you and SDI TDI, which we're going to get into a little bit more. I know you guys have gone through a recent rebranding, which we're kind of anxious to hear about. But thanks for joining us, and we just want to talk to you a little bit about your background and see what's going on at SDI.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here. So I'd love to do anything we can and be a part of it.
Yeah, let's get into it then. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background. You're the business development manager director at SDI, and you've been there quite a while. Maybe you could give us a little bit about how you got into diving and your passion for the sport.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I actually just hit my 10-year anniversary there like 2 weeks ago, so it's pretty exciting. Yeah,
very cool.
A lot of time invested there. My background, I started in the university program in Rhode Island. So I was going to school there and was in marine biology, and somebody had said, oh, they teach scuba diving here as part of it. And I was like, well, I should try that out. I always wanted to check it out. And from the moment I went underwater there, it was just like, I'm going to do this forever.
Yeah, that's really cool to turn a passion into a career and a way to make a living. That's pretty special. There's worse things that you could do than the scuba diving business for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you have any favorite dive sites or dive locations you like to go? And
I mean, I really like anywhere that I can get in the water. I'm always trying something new. But I live in Florida. I think Jupiter over there is one of the best diving locations in the U.S. that you can possibly do. But I'm also very fond of Mexico, right? Between the amazing reefs you have there and the incredible cave diving, it's a pretty solid location.
Yeah, so many beautiful places. So tell me a little bit about what's going on at SDI. I know you guys have been through a lot of changes recently, and rebranding is probably the most obvious. You go on your website and get a new website, new logo. Tell us about that and maybe the One Dive family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been cooking. So as I mentioned, I've been with the agency for a little while now, and this has probably been one of the most exciting times that I've been with it, just because all the fun things that we've wanted to do for so many years have all been coming out just one after another lately. So the rebranding is probably one of the biggest ones. And the idea behind that is we had our parent name international training, right? You had TDI where the brand started, SDI, which is the majority of our business at this point, and then also the other brands, PFI, First Response, and ERDI. So we hear all those letters just now that can be a little bit confusing, right? We'd answer the phone and say, thanks for calling international training. And people would say, oh, who's that? This is SDI? Oh, yeah, okay. So we decided to move SDI as the parent company. So that's the brand that people know and associate with most often across the world. And then every other agency that's part of it still has their own unique identity, and those brands exist. But now it's just a little bit more clear, a little more concise. You see the new logo is just the letters SDI. And it makes it a little more recognizable for people and more in line with what they were already saying.
It's definitely a little bit easier for people to understand, for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the One Dive family that you've kind of put together. That's kind of part of the rebrand?
Yeah, so that's kind of the marketing that comes along with it, and that's my favorite part of it, actually. And it stands for a few different things, right? The idea is, in the industry, there's, in our opinion, been a lot of division in the last several years, and we need more things, kind of like this podcast, that bring people together, regardless of where you come from, what kind of diving you do, any of those things. So the One Dive family points out that we are the only major agency that is family-owned at this point. We are a family of agencies that can do any type of diving that you have any sort of interest in, whether it's the basic flopping off a boat to see pretty fish, or exploring caves on a rebreather, recovering vehicles from public safety scenes, whatever it is there, we've got a way to do that. And then the final is, again, just the bringing people together. We want to think more about, it's great that you explore the underwater world, let's do that together, and less about, this is where you learned, this is who you affiliate with, or this is the gear you use. It's more about just uniting people under that that one principle that we all have in common.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about the SDI family. We were just down there to visit you guys. We have a great relationship. We saw Brian and Sean. And tell us a little bit about the business. You've got, how many people do you have there in your office location?
Well, at headquarters, I think we sit usually around 30 people. in that building. And then worldwide, we have hundreds between all the regional offices and everything like that. So we have 25 offices around the world, and some of them are just 1 or 2 people. Some of them are as large as headquarters.
How about the different like groups or departments, divisions? Like, do all your courses kind of originate there? The genesis for the programs and the learning. How does that all come about?
Yeah, so a lot of our best ideas come from the field, actually, and that's a core part of our history as an agency. Is when the industry says we need this program or we need this type of diving, we've found a way to make that. You look back, we were the first to make a solo course, and one of the original promoters of nitrox and things like that. So we usually just talk to our members and say, how's everything working for you? What do you need? What do we need to see change? And that's where we get the best ideas. Because sitting in an office behind a desk, you can only be so connected. We need the people that are out there doing it every day to really kind of dictate where that goes.
Yeah. So you get to work with a lot of different parts of the business. What's your favorite? What's your passion? If you had to pick, one of the specialties that you guys offer, what are you really into?
Professional development is really my passion. So I worked in the training department for a while before I moved into business development, and running the instructor trainer programs, teaching instructors, things like that is really where my passion lies. That's only the one thing I regret from moving to sales, is not being able to teach as much anymore. But I get to meet so many amazing people throughout the industry, travel all over the place, having conversations with the people that make up the stores and kind of every sector of the industry that we work with is really neat.
Yeah, that's what makes it interesting, because they're all different. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've got an eclectic group of people,
Yeah.
and meeting all of them, learning their personalities, kind of what makes them tick and how their business is run is definitely the best part of my job currently.
Yeah. So do you have any new like big programs you're working on, or anything
actually,
interesting that the audience should know about?
Yeah, for sure. So some of the recent things we've launched. The dive log and updated app just came out recently, so that's really neat because we've got a digital dive log that works through the website and the app. It syncs with Shearwater computers right now, and we're working on more and more brands, so you're going to see more of those roll out as time goes on. And the Dive Master program was actually just completely rewritten. So
I heard a little bit about that. Yeah, tell me more about that one.
Well, that one's really exciting because over the last year or so, we've done kind of remodels of some of the courses, new images, content updates, things like that. But the Dive Master program, we actually scrapped all of it and we rewrote it top to bottom. So that's pretty neat. As I mentioned, professional development's a big passion of mine. So seeing new updated materials with all the current techniques and relevant information, especially for doing business in the scuba industry at this time, that's all in there. So that's pretty great. And we're actually moving into instructor now. So we have gone through a lot of the instructor course, also doing a full rewrite, and we're getting into the editing phases of it. So that's going to be coming out sometime this year, most likely.
How long does it take to put a new program like that together from top to bottom? I mean, I'm gonna say that must be a lot of work. I mean, when do you guys start working on something like that?
It takes a long time. So we get better and better as we move on. So sometimes it will take months or years to work on one, depending on the size of it. Some of them can be done pretty quickly. So the Dive Master one, I think, has taken just over a year to get in completion, but through the process of rewriting, that's the first major course rewrite we've done in quite a while. We've done some other smaller ones, but that is a very dense manual, right? If you look at the actual physical book, it's like this.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's like the Bible of diving. So doing that, we were able to learn some things from that, and the instructor one has actually gone quite a bit faster than that, where that one's gone down to maybe 6 months. Yeah. Instead of over a year, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think is it the quality assurance part of that, like a big part of the program considerations that you kind of factor in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at it and you've got the original content writing, right? So that will take time for the authors to come up with what they're going to do, put it in the right format, arrange it, make sure everything's written correctly. That'll go through multiple editing phases between our training department for making sure that the content's all correct, where we want it to be, as well as other departments like business development to check on what we've done for the sales portion of it, and also just the readability factor, right? Is this something that's going to resonate with people of all different cultures and reading levels and things like that, or is it written to an audience where it just doesn't make sense? And then beyond that, you've got all of the mapping for the videos, the imagery that comes along with it, putting the actual e-learning course together, and then all the final product reviews. And I'm sure I'm missing several components of that. Some of that's just a bit above my head. But there's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Oh, yeah.
When we were down to visit, Brian gave us a little tour, and you guys have recently built your own in-house video studio there.
Yeah,
So you do a lot
yeah.
of that work right on site.
Yeah, so we remodeled the entire headquarters office a couple of years ago. And some of the coolest features that we have are the new conference room, which you got to be in. You saw that awesome table that we have and everything like that. That's every visitor's favorite thing, but also the recording studio is really neat. So we built that right into one of the old offices, and now that's where we do all of our video content, our product shoots, everything like that that can be done in-house. And then obviously for things in the water, we go out and do that.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's really cool to have all that right on site and be able to knock it out and edit it as you go. What do you see? What else is on tap for the rest of this year and kind of the future for SDI? Looks like there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I mean, we've been experiencing a lot of growth, so hitting the road as much as possible, obviously, is one of the things that my team is the most focused on, trying to spread the good word. But some of the new things that I'm pretty excited about, we're working on a rewards program, so looking forward to that. Obviously, the launch of the instructor program, which we've already talked about, but that one's a big one for me. And then seeing how much more we can develop the app, I think, is a big one, too. It's been cool to see the dive log and how it's advanced, and to see how many more manufacturers we can get into syncing with that would be really neat.
Yeah, so get into that just a little bit more. So tell me about some of the advanced features maybe of this new dive log that you just
absolutely.
launched.
So the app does a lot of the core features that you need from one, right? You can see your digital certification cards, update your profile. It syncs with the website, so it has all your information there. Lots of good blog articles. Instructors can see the standards. But the dive log is the newest feature. And with that, we wanted to make something that was easy and comprehensive to use, because there are a lot of dive logs out there. So we don't want to make just another dive log. We want to make one that's very useful to the average diver. So we have something for our people in training to use, right? Because they're just learning for the first time how to log their dives and behave like real divers. But also for existing divers out there, it needs to have a value for them too. Because we all have our favorite source of logging, we want to try to make this one that they can actually use. So my favorite feature is that it's starting to be able to sync with lots of dive computers that are on the market. We started with Shearwater. They've got a lot of the market right now, and they work for both sport and tech, which was pretty important to us, obviously, with our company history. And from here, we go on to various other manufacturers. I don't know the exact order of those, but there's going to be quite a few that build into it. The goal is to get as many or all, if possible, so that way it doesn't matter who you dive with or what manufacturers you use, you have a way to use this app.
Well, that's maybe a good one for you as the business development director. Is, what do you see as far as the future of the industry? How do we get new divers involved and interested in the sport? Because it's not easy, right? Our diver population is aging. And I think that's a real threat to the industry that we need to, address. So
I think that's the $1 million question that everybody's asking.
It is
right
a $1 million
now, right?
question.
How do we get more people into diving, and how do we get more young people into diving? Are usually the big ones that everybody's asking.
Yeah.
So I think this one's never an easy question to answer, right? Because if we had that answer, then we wouldn't have the challenges that the industry is facing right now. So I think that reaching out to any sort of kind of similar type of water sport, or people that are into action sports and things like that, is going to be one thing, right? Well, some people are going to the travel and adventure shows, the surf shows, things like that, trying to find people that are familiar with water sports already, who are comfortable with the idea of scuba diving, but maybe just never had the opportunity to try it. You have some that are reaching out to more youth groups and things like that. But honestly, just talking to anybody that we can about diving and making it relevant to those that never know about it, I think, is the biggest thing. Because we always say you don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know. And you have, entire families that have never, really revolved around the water or thought about scuba diving as something that they'd have access to or that they could do. So it's hard to get them to bring their kids into it, or, get the family diving. So the more things we can do to get that outreach outside of just marketing to ourselves in the scuba industry is going to be a big thing. And it's not necessarily an easy thing, because I'm sure from the marketing efforts that you guys make, it's where do you start? And how do you make sure that you're putting your efforts into the right directions to be able to do that?
Yeah, it's a good point because we're a small industry. We're small groups, and we do have to, make sure our time is being maximized and used in the best places. And there's a lot of things to work on for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm really big on inclusion. Everybody cooperating and things like that. So I think that the more we can promote to the divers that we do have to get their friends and family involved, the more accessible we make it, the more kind of present we make it in media, whether it's social media or, movies, shows, anything like that, where we're getting people to go out and say how much of an amazing time they had, to tell their friends about it, to show them all of the things that they've unlocked in their life by being able to learn how to dive. That's one of the facets of it, right?
Yeah, for
Obviously
sure.
many.
Yeah. What have you seen over the years? You've been with SDI now for 10 years, I think you said, and you've been in the industry for a while. I mean, what do you think from the training agency, from the seat that you sit in? Like, what are the things that have changed the most over the time that you've been involved?
Probably the ways that we communicate with our divers and the ways that we show them the content that we're working with, right? In that time that I've been with it, the core essentials have always been there. We always had a huge emphasis on customer service, building relationships with the people we work with. We've always had pretty core, solid training concepts and everything like that. But as the world moves to a more digital plane, we are going to have to keep up with that. So right now, obviously everybody's using e-learning, digital certification cards, moving to app-based things. But as we start to look at AI and virtual reality and all that kind of stuff, it's really interesting to see where the industry is going to go, because ultimately we're catering to the customer, right? And we have to make sure that we're making things that are relevant to them. So being able to keep up with that and make our products relevant to what's going on with not just the industry, but the entire world is probably the most I've seen change.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and it's exciting to see the developments, because things have become easier, better, I think more trackable from the training agency standpoint, to make sure people are hitting certain benchmarks. So it's really going to be an evolution as we look forward to the future.
Oh
So.
yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of mistakes along the way, right? People make things more digital, and then there's repercussions to that as well. So keeping up with those, right? We move towards this digital market. We make all these exciting new tools, but I think online learning in COVID was a great example of that, right? You have all these kids that are staying home from school, that are doing learning digitally, and they start to learn how to use these systems, which means they're more used to it, but they also know the ways around it, right? Skipping through tests to get to the answers at the ends and things like that. So it presents unique challenges to the agencies and the other companies that are making new products, to make them exciting and engaging, but also to make it so they work the best with the students that they need to train.
Yeah, so Jesse, I totally agree with you that, moving the industry forward is, the $1 million question. I mean, how do we go about doing that? That's really the thing on everybody's mind.
Right. I think that kind of what we talked about already, bringing new people into the industry, is the hardest part of it, right? And that's one thing that we have to figure out, but also how we support the industry currently is another very important thing. I'd mentioned earlier that I think the industry's become a little bit divisive, and I think cooperation is really a big part of the key, right? You see a lot of movement towards ultimately political things that are keeping divers, or ultimately that affect the divers' ability to go out and dive and make it easy. I think the more that manufacturers, agencies, any entity in the industry can act as though we are part of one big organization, one big family, whatever you want to call it, the better that's going to be for the diver. Because if we remember why people are doing this, you have somebody that's just coming into this for fun. They want to be able to get certified and go dive anywhere in the world and not have any sort of issues doing that. So the less we can make it feel like things are different to them, and the more it's all one big industry supporting their ability to go explore the underwater world, the better off we're going to be. And
yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. And kind of jumping back to the One Dive family thing, that's kind of a lot of the message that we're putting out there is ultimately we're all doing the same thing, right? We all have different methods of doing it. Maybe our gear's a little bit different. Maybe our training standards are just a tiny bit different, but a lot of the industry is governed by higher organizational standards. So we're ultimately training people just to go see pretty fish underwater. We don't have to make it so different.
It should be all about fun.
It's all about enabling that experience for that person to have the adventure of a lifetime.
So you talked a little bit about your course development and all the things that go into that.
Mm-hmm.
What about the progression? So a diver enters the sport, they get their open water certification. What does that open up for them as opportunities to get into other courses that you offer? Where would somebody go from there?
Yeah, I think the number one piece of advice I give to anybody that's just learned to dive is to go diving. And that sounds really simple, right? But sometimes we get caught up in all the things we can buy and the courses we can take. And obviously, from a training agency standpoint, people getting educated on how to dive and getting to advanced levels is a great thing. But we also see sometimes people get too focused on that and don't kind of slow down and just go diving in the meantime. Explore your local area, go on a dive trip, find a way to find the type of diving that's accessible to you. It doesn't have to be some grand trip off to, a faraway place that costs thousands of dollars. There's often very many local sites that can be done, or smaller local trips, things like that. But the more you get out diving, the more people you meet, the more you experience with it. For one, you're going to become a safer and a more experienced diver, and nothing can replace experience. But you're also going to learn more about the diving world, the people in it, the cool creatures that you see under there. And I think finding a group, a community or a mentor or both is very important as divers as well, right? We're going to do it for fun. We go on vacations and, whatever mode you're looking for with diving. But the people we meet along the way are often one of the best parts about it. And some of them may just be other divers at similar levels. Some of them may be actual instructors. But those people will help guide kind of your future and how you dive as well. They may expose you to a new concept, a new skill or tactic that you use with diving, a different equipment configuration. All these things build you as a diver. It's not just taking courses. It's not just buying gear. It's actually spending some time in the water. And then as you get ready to progress, ask yourself, am I ready to take this next course? What is it that I want to do? Maybe take something like an advanced program that it can expose you to different types of diving. Not only does it make you a more competent diver, but it's going to show you different specialties that you may have more interest in. Don't close doors, I think, is the biggest thing. Get out there, try every type of diving you can, dive in every environment you can, and meet as many people as you can, because it's a really cool community-based
It is. We have such
well.
a great community, the scuba diving community, and it really comes down to the people and the personalities and the destinations, and there's just so many things to enjoy and explore. So I think that's really, really great advice.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a diver, maybe a newer diver who's working on their open water certification, as far as gear, without mentioning brand name specifics? What should a diver be considering, for gear?
I think there's a couple things there. One is focus on why you're using things, right? I think a lot of times when we look at diving education, especially with brand new divers, they're focusing on, I'm just going to do what my instructor tells me. And I'm going to choose the gear that they choose. I'm going to do it the way that they do it. But they don't always understand the why behind that. And that's great in training to learn how to use it right. You have to trust your instructor to show you the right ways to do things. But if you don't understand the why behind everything that you're doing or the equipment that you're choosing, it's hard to advance as a diver. Because if you don't have that understanding, how do you make the decision on what you buy next? You essentially, go somewhere and have somebody sell you something. But if I wear my computer on my wrist or my console or clip it off somewhere for this specific reason, or I like what this BC does or my hose routing in this configuration because of X, Y, and Z, you're going to understand more about what you need from your next equipment. And the other thing is, don't get too hung up on it. We all make multiple purchases. You can always buy something new. I've certainly purchased gear that I thought was right for me at the time, and I outgrew with the type of diving I did. But the more we understand about it, the more we know our needs as a diver, and the more we can find the right fit for us. And if you kind of have an idea of what type of diving you want to do in the future, you can buy gear that grows with you for that type of diving as well. So I think that why behind it is one thing. And then the other is, as I was saying, if you know kind of what type of diving you're trying to get into, you can buy things that focus with that. But don't be afraid to try new things. There's a lot of wonderful types of equipment out there. And that's always been one of my favorite
There's lots of gear.
things.
Are you a gear junkie yourself?
I am.
Yeah, I think we all are.
I actually have
into the sport.
I have an entire dive locker built in the back of my house. We have like a patio, and I had walls built in it. And fins are really the thing that I get hyper-focused on. I think I've got 12 pairs of fins right now and there, each one for a different type of diving or a day of diving or what I'm feeling, and I still find myself going to shows like this and trying to buy
Trying
more.
to see what's the next
Yeah.
next pair.
Right, and some of them are great, but it's maybe one little movement I don't like that I find another pair that fits perfectly for that. So again, if you don't try out equipment, you don't know exactly what works. We all start with something and then grow into new things, but if you can try your buddy's gear or rent something from a store, some of them will let you try equipment before you buy it. Just get out there and experience everything, because you never know what you're going to connect with. And finding that perfect gear for your style and your diving really just increases your enjoyment and your comfort underwater, when you don't have to worry about if you're shifting in one direction, if you're, having different feelings based on the way the gear sits on your actual body. All these things that you don't consider as a new diver, which at the more experienced levels, you can have one little thing that's off with your equipment, and that's all you focus on the entire dive. So figuring out what works with you just by trying it is always the best thing that you can do.
I think that's great advice. And Jesse, this has been a fascinating conversation with you today, and we really appreciate you joining us here on the DANcast. It's always wonderful to work with partners and just to push the industry forward, and also to make the industry safer at the same time. So thank you very much for your involvement today, and we look forward to working with you more in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Obviously, as organizations, we work fairly well together, but I think personally we all enjoy each other quite a bit as well. So it's great to sit with you here and get to talk to you some more and just explore what we like about diving.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool.